extremely fun. It's Sunrise with Craig Froelich right here on KCMX AM 880. Lively conversations around news, politics, and people, plus local news and weather every 30 minutes. We want to hear from you. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or go to kcmxam.com. Join in the conversation by calling 541-772-8255. Sunrise, where it matters what you think.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Sunrise Show. Glad you're with us this morning, 7 minutes after the hour. 40 degrees, going to be just a beautiful day in the Rogue Valley. Little Ray Charles getting us kind of shook up. And welcome to all our Twitter fans. A shout out to our streaming fans as well, streaming worldwide. Want to bring in a great guest, and always thrilled to have her on, Sarah Red-Laird, and she's the founder and executive director of the BeGirl.org, BeGirl.org, and it's so exciting that she's in here this morning. Sarah, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me in. I always love coming in here.
That's great. It's great having you. Well, a lot of things happening. Of course, this is isn't this, bees are just having so much fun right now, right? With the flowers blooming and the weather it is, and we just had this heat wave, and I just had bees in my chimney. Thank you very much. But thank you to the Southern Oregon Beekeeper, right? SouthernOregonBeekeeper.org.
Southern Oregon Beekeepers Association.
Yeah, right.
SouthernOregonBeekeepers.org.
That's right, exactly right. SouthernOregonBeekeepers.org. If you have an issue or a question, there's an online contact page, and send in your contact, and someone will be contacting you. And yeah, those little bees that just came and decided to land in my fireplace and start building honeycomb, well, they just got moved. So, well, thrilled to have you in. And, of course, BeGirl.org is doing so many wonderful things. You are traveling all over the country now. And you went to Wales.
I went to Wales
as
in the
a
UK.
Keynote speaker.
I did.
So tell us what's happening in the world of bees.
Oh, my gosh. So busy. So much going on. It's been really amazing to see just in the last few years how people, as not only in the U.S. but abroad as well, are just really starting to notice that our bees are not doing well, and they're missing bees being around in their gardens, and they're missing bees being in the backyard on a dandelion, and starting to take notice of a lot of the stories in the news, and people are really concerned about our bees.
They should be concerned,
yeah.
Yes. So the big question right out of the chute, Measure 15-119, and the health of bees and the effects of GMOs, what would your comments be on that?
Yeah, I think that this is an important measure, and it's been really interesting to see the community's reaction and see how binding it really has been from the community to get behind this measure as a vote for yes. It's very endearing. When the farmers went down the streets in Medford the other day on their tractors, I thought that was one of the most endearing things I'd seen. I was at the Master Gardeners Fair talking to about 8,000 people, literally, about bee-friendly gardening, so I missed it, but I saw it online. But anywho, yeah.
It's a toss-up, right? Because you've got big companies, and and the whole issue, and you've got wind pollination, and then you've got bee pollination. Explain to folks some of the general groups between wind pollination. I mean, they've got corn and alfalfa and that kind of thing on the wind side.
Alfalfa is pollinated by bees.
Alfalfa is pollinated by bees. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. All right. So
corn is wind pollinated. Our grains are wind pollinated for the most part. But most of our fruits and our vegetables and our nuts, anything that has color, vitamins, minerals, healthy fats.
That's bee stuff. Yeah.
Flavor.
Yeah.
That's bee stuff.
Bee stuff. All right. And then the rest of the wind. See, apples trees.
That's bees. Yeah.
They love doing all that kind of stuff. So the next thing is whether or not bees are affected by GMOs.
Yeah, there isn't great research saying, like, A plus B equals C, like GMOs plus bees equals death. it's more about management practices and more about land use. And so oftentimes when a GMO crop is planted, you just are looking to get the most bang for your buck. And so it's fence row to fence row planting, really chemical intensive for the most part, lots of inputs going in order to manage the crop to have, to get your product in the end. Not very diversified farming, a lot of monocropping, and that is just not good for bees really on the main part, on the main scheme of things, because bees need diversity of food. They need lots of extra unmowed areas that are nice and messy and weedy around the crops in order to get a diversity of pollen. They're just like us. They need more than one kind of protein coming into their, one kind of protein, one kind of carbohydrate coming into their diet. And so they really need those messy, weedy buffer strips and cover crops. And you oftentimes don't get those with a GMO crop. So that's really, it comes down to a land use issue.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but don't, isn't one of the motives, I mean, there's two motives behind GMO. One is a better, resilient crop, and then resilient to Roundup or whatever else they want to spray, and keeping the weeds out of the crops. And then the next thing is using less chemicals because they're more resilient. So does that help a little bit, or it's still chemical is a chemical is a chemical? Right,
yeah. And then if you think about it like that, so Roundup Ready means it's a corn crop, and the corn can be, you can spray the bejesus out of it with a chemical, with Roundup, which will kill everything else around except for the corn to make more room for corn production. But then you're killing a lot of other things. So you're killing the milkweeds, and you're killing the other flowering plants that are around, which are food for bees and food for monarchs and food for other pollinators as well.
Yeah, they do pollinate that kind. Now, mysterious deaths. Maybe I want to talk about that some more, because we've been seeing some mysterious death among bees, and I forget where that was, Houston or something down in Texas. I'm trying to think. There was like just thousands or so bees just dead.
Was this the most recent one? So. Down in the Danny Rose's bees down towards Florida? Okay, yeah. So yeah, huge. It's not really a mystery. Basically, what it's looking like it was one of the land managers, one of the orchard managers in the almonds. So the majority of our managed beehives travel to California every...
Yeah, they put them on trucks. They put them on
January,
flatbeds.
February. Yep, January, February, March, to go and pollinate the almonds. Our almonds, we have about 850 million acres or so of almonds down in the Central Valley of California, and they have to be pollinated by bees in order to grow and make almonds.
Isn't that something? 850 million acres of almonds.
Yeah. And so the majority of the managed bees in this country descend upon the almonds to come for this massive pollination event. And we've been working really hard, and there are growers that are so responsible and spray when they should spray and don't spray when they shouldn't spray, and manage their orchards really responsibly. And then there's other ones that unfortunately don't. And this year it's looking like someone put together a pretty funky take mix of chemicals, and for who knows exactly what it was, and sprayed during the day while these bees were on the flowers.
Oh, they weren't supposed to spray until the bees were done.
Mm-hmm. And so not only did the bees themselves bring this poison back to the hives, they also brought just pesticide and herbicide, fungicide, whatever it was, laced pollen and nectar back to the hive to feed to the bees back in the hives. And then it took a while for this to really take effect, because a bee's lifespan this time of year is 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
And so 4 to 6 weeks later, the end of that bee's lifespan, so no more bees were born out of these hives, no more baby bees emerged. So Danny Rhodes got down to his next pollination contract to go do citrus,
and his bees,
no more bees were coming out of the comb.
Yeah.
So they're just done. His honey crop is done. The rest of his year is done.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's a shame. We're talking with Sarah Red-Laird. The Bee Girl, beegirl.org, and I tell you what, great website. You can follow her on Facebook or get onto her website, beegirl.org, and she's traveling around the world. So we'll talk more about that when we come back right after the break.
Stay tuned. Sunrise will return in a moment on KCMX News Talk 880. A little bold and extremely fun, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. on KCMX AM 880. Lively conversations around news, politics, and people, plus local news and weather every 30 minutes. Here's Craig.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. 19 minutes after the hour. Glad you're with us. You're going to really enjoy this. If you haven't already picked up, we have Sarah Red-Laird in with us. She is the Bee Girl, world-renowned Bee Girl, I might add. Between traveling Alaska, Montana, Wales, Florida, California. And where was that TED Talk at?
The TED Talk was in Bend.
No! So very good. So very exciting. And you know, there's so much information here, and we're going to time. So with bees, tell everybody related to safety and bees and what to do, what not to do, because it is that season. Kids are going to be out swimming, pools, clover, all that kind of stuff. And honeybees, they're busy. They got their own agenda, but they will sting you if you threaten them, right?
Well, if you squish them or step on them, bees are not wasps. They're cousins, but wasps get, unfortunately...
They get pretty aggressive.
They do, and they get mistaken for bees oftentimes. So bees get a bad rap because of because they look like a wasp, but they're really just as related to an ant as they are to a wasp. And so a honeybee, or another bee, any other bee, they're the really fuzzy ones. Wasps are yellow and black oftentimes, but they're bald. They have no fuzz on their bodies. Whereas bees are the ones that are interested in flowers. That's all they want to do. They're collecting nectar and pollen to bring home to their sisters and their brothers in the hive. And they don't want to sting you, but they will if you step on them on a flower or accidentally squish one or get too close to their hive.
If you get a bee that's buzzing around you and you start swatting at it.
Right, yeah, don't do that.
Don't swat at the bee. So and I learned that from our bee guy, Joe, our bee guy. I mean, he did great. And, you know, you need to be calm, and they sense that. They sense whether you're calm or not. So just like all animals, I mean, they sense if you're in a panic, a fight or flight mode, and the bees will protect their group. So it's amazing to watch them. And I got to hear about the different bees and what they do and how their lifespans. And it was shocking to hear that the queen bee lays up to 1,500 eggs a day.
Yeah, even up to 2,000 in a really productive hive, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway. So, you know, now, of course, bridging the gap with kids, teaching kids the importance of bees and what that does, because I don't think they get that related to spreading pollen around and the health of plants. Exactly.
Yeah. It all comes down to our food, and that's why I run a Kids and Bees program, and it's all positive. We don't talk about, the bees are dying, or, colony collapse disorder, and what is it? It's so scary. It's totally positive, and I'm just trying to create a really fun, awesome, positive experience about bees and around bees with kids and helping them understand how bees connect them to their food. And I just was in, where was I? I was up at Applegate School yesterday afternoon, and then right after I get done here, I'll be on my way up to Wolf Creek for 2 programs today. And yeah, we just
busy. So
we do activities, and it's so fun.
Tell our listeners about Wales, because you went to Wales.
I went to Wales in the UK.
Give a shout out to the school, because if they're listening, you know, on stream right now, you can give a shout out to the kids in Wales. What's the name of the school?
It actually wasn't a school. I was asked to come.
Was it an association?
The International Bee Research Association.
Okay.
Started a project called the Bee World Project, and it's all about kids and bees and connecting kids through the projects that they're doing with bees and to save bees and to just love on bees throughout the world. And so there's quite a few countries that are that were asked to participate right off the bat in this program. The UK, the US, Australia, Germany, a couple of countries in South America, Jordan. And so we are developing ideas to start connecting these classrooms and teachers and kids through their love of bees and their bee advocacy and their planting flowers and all the really cool activities.
So what was the takeaway from Wales? Because that had to have been a shock to the system for you, right?
I loved it. It was so funny because the one thing I realized when I was there, especially when I was doing my my public talk, was that people in the UK are very emotionally reserved and their resting faces are very sad and angry looking. So when I was doing my keynote, I was looking out at the audience. I was like, I am bombing. They hate me. They're not laughing at any of my jokes.
They're serious.
They look just so serious. But then afterwards, they just descended upon me with handshakes and hugs, and they were so thankful, and they were so excited about what I was doing and so happy to have me there. And it was so interesting, and that was the biggest cultural difference I noticed was their resting faces.
They're very serious. And what's so funny is...
But they're the nicest people on the planet and so warm and have the hugest hearts and are so accepting and so hospitable, and the men are such gentlemen. And
well, Bill Cosby teased about that years ago. He said they have a straight face and their suits, he said they don't, because their suits have so much starch they don't bend. Anyway, it's a big, long, funny story, Bill Cosby. But so we went to Wales, and you've come here, and you're just doing so much, and you're finding a way to connect with these kids. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And then really there is a health of bees, and we bring this full circle to this GMO thing and chemicals. Are people realizing that chemicals are affecting bees on a fairly radical basis?
Yeah, they really are. And that's been the one thing that gets so much press in the news is neonicotinoids, and this one chemical is killing the bees. And that drives me up the wall a little bit, because I really feel like if we just keep saying oh, neonicotinoids are killing bees, just get rid of those and the bees will be fine. And that really oversimplifies it, whereas it's kind of the perfect storm for bees right now. It's climate change, it's habitat loss, it's monocrop agriculture, and it's varroa mites. And these are all problems that we really have created just as a society, as a community of humans. And it's going to take every single one of us to change the way we live and change the way we eat to save the bees. And if we keep saying, oh, it's just one chemical, ban this chemical and they'll be fine, that's not going to do the trick. We all need to participate together and get on board with changing our lifestyles. And then we're really going to see the bees mirror that back, and their health will improve.
Interesting that the president brings out this piece on global warming. And, you kind of, you wonder, yeah, all right, so it's gone up 1.5 degrees since 1895. I get all of that, and the fluorocarbons and the polar ice cap and all those kind of things. Bees are pretty resilient to temperature.
Mm-mm.
They're not.
Mm-mm. No, they're... weather dictates everything a bee does. And so it's been really fascinating. I've been in 3 countries and 6 states so far this year. And everywhere I've been, except for, we're so lucky here in Southern Oregon. Southern Oregon, we've actually had our weather has been pretty bee friendly, but across the world, there's been just extreme weather everywhere I've been. And the bees are really taking a hit. So when I was in the UK, they're having record flooding. I was expecting it to rain, but not like that. It was torrential flooding, flood stage is super high. And so bees can't fly in that. They can't fly when it's torrential rain every single day, all day, every day, because they can't go out and get food. And then I was down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it was during the polar vortex, and it was in the 20s in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They have never seen weather like that before, ever, and the bees were having a really rough time. And then I was up in the Midwest and the Northeast, where they were having record cold and really, really, really long winters, super extreme winters. When I left here and it was the pears were blooming and it was spring and beautiful, and I got to New York City and it snowed 6 inches. and it never snowed.
So can the bees move? I mean, they have to just hunker down when the weather changes drastically, but they could, if the queen decides, they could pick up and move. But they don't normally, right?
They can pick up and move like a mile or two, but they can't. They're not like a monarch or something that can actually like
migrate.
Migrate, yeah. They
Okay.
can't migrate miles and miles and miles to better weather. So it's really up to the beekeeper you have to feed them. And last year, with the extreme hot weather and the fires that we had, our flowers stopped producing nectar. And so the bees pretty much ate me out of house and home. It was all I could do. I lost money on my honey crop last year because I had to feed so much sugar to make up for the lack of nectar.
What do you do? Feed a sugar and water mix?
Sugar water, yeah.
Ah, interesting. Wow. Well, Sarah, we're about out of time, but anything left this last thing? I mean, you want to just get to beegirl.org.
Yeah, go to beegirl.org. We're going to be launching a membership campaign at the end of this week. There's a Rogues baseball game coming up this summer that's going to be a fundraiser for Bee Girl. There's all sorts of really fun ways that you can participate in our events and our classes and help us help the bees.
Excellent, excellent. Sarah, thank you so much for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you in and hearing about it, because I tell you what, it's just great to see healthy bees and great honey. And I'm a honey guy. I just love that stuff. I can't get enough. And you put out some great honey, by the way, too.
Thanks. It's pretty good.
So we'll have to figure that out. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sarah Red-Laird, the Bee Girl, world-renowned. She's right here in Jackson County. Thanks so much, Sarah, for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back. More on the Sunrise Show when we return. Oh, hope your day is going well. 42 degrees, and we'll be back.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go to that same old place, sweet home?
Stay tuned. Sunrise will return in a moment on KCMX News Talk 880.